Okay, sorry I forgot to get this to you sooner. I'm going to go over some random problems from lesson 6. So you can just, even if you did lesson 6, you can just look at this and see if you did it the right way. First one I want to go over is number 2. Use 2-unit multipliers to convert 4 miles to inches. So I went over this briefly last video. I just want to keep doing these because they can cause problems for some people. And I want you to do it the way that the way I'm going to show you. So we're going to start out with our 4 miles. So I write that down, and then I need 2-unit conversion things. So there we go. And we want to end up in inches, so I'm going to put inches up here on the top. And we're going to want to cross out miles, so I'm going to put that down here on the bottom. Now we need to find the unit multiplier. So we don't want to go miles to inches, we want to go to something in between. So I'm going to go miles to feet. So something you have to memorize is that there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. There's our unit multiplier. So I'm going to put feet up here, 5,280 over 1 mile, so that the miles can cross out. Now we need to go from feet to inches. So we put feet down here. See how it's always diagonal? That way the feet can cross out, and we know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So when you write your answer to this, you can just leave it in parentheses. It means they're multiplied together. 4 times 5,280 times 12. And of course the unit we want it in is inches, so we would put inches at the end. So that's just a little brush up. Okay, this lesson we're adding positive and negative numbers again. This is lesson 6. So it's called Rules for Addition, Adding More Than 2 Numbers and Inserting Parentheses Mentally. So I'm just going to do a couple examples. There's different ways you can do this. One thing to keep in mind, I'm going to zip over to this part of my screen here. When we have negative of a negative number, what this really is saying is the opposite of. So it's saying, what is the opposite of negative 2? It's positive 2. Or you can remember that a negative times a negative is a positive. Let's look at this one. We have braces, bracket, and parentheses. So whenever you do ones like this, you're going to start inside the most inner parenthesis, bracket, or whatever is most inside. So I'm going to recopy everything else. So I'm going to get negative, braces, and I'm going to get negative, negative. So it's the opposite of negative 2, which would be positive 2. And then we put our brace back on. You can switch it to parentheses or brackets, whatever you like, once you start simplifying it. And so we're going to get a final answer of negative 2. Another way we can do this problem is a negative, negative, negative. It's an odd number of negative signs, so that means the answer is going to be negative. If you have an even number of negative signs, the answer would be positive. So let's go back over here to do a couple of these problems now. So we're going to start by simplifying. We have 7. You don't need to write the plus in front of there. The opposite of negative 3 would be positive 3. And whenever you have a plus and a minus together, the minus wins. So you get negative 2. And so that would just give us 10 minus 2 would equal 8. So they're pretty easy. I don't think these would give you any problem. Okay, let's look at one that's a little bit more complicated. The opposite of negative 3 would be positive 3. Here we're going to work inside of the bracket. So the opposite of negative 4 will be positive 4. Minus 2 plus 7. That would equal 3. Now we work inside of the bracket. 4 minus 2 is 2. Plus 7 gives us 9. And that would be what's inside of there, and so we would get equals. I think I copied this problem down, but just down wrong, but just do it the way I have it there. So I think I got everything right there. 2 plus 7 is 9, plus 3. Okay, so minus 6. Okay, let's go over here. Let's just get 2 more problems. This is the opposite of negative 2 minus the absolute value of negative 2. So we know that the opposite of negative 2 would be 2. minus, remember, absolute value, whatever it is always positive, would be 2, and so your answer to this one would be 0. And finally, let's do one more. I'm going to do inside the absolute value first, so it's going to be the opposite of negative 5, the absolute value of negative 5. The opposite of negative 3 would be positive 3, minus 2, minus 5. This is going to be positive, so we would have the opposite of positive 5 plus, now we have to decide if it's plus or minus. We're going to have, we'll just do it in 2 steps. 3 minus 2 is 1 minus 5, and that's going to be negative. You can either go from left to right and say negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4, minus 5 is minus 9. Or you could have added the 2 negatives together and got negative 10 plus 1 equals minus 9. So hopefully that helped if you're having any trouble at all with these, and anything that you're having trouble with, we can spend plenty of time going over homework on Friday.